Hello and welcome to the Sheffield Hopcast. We are now into August. This year is flying by. So we are back and, it's the 2nd of August today, which means yesterday was the 1st of August, which of course means only one thing. It was Yorkshire Day. So today is our Yorkshire special. So we're going to be having all Yorkshire beers. Let's meet the crew. She wasn't here a couple of weeks ago because she was swanning about somewhere or other, but she's back. It's Laura. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be back. I've brought a beer from my travels.
Ooh.
Been far then.
Well, where were your travels?
We went up to Hunmanby, which is not far from Filey, just for a couple of nights away. Celebrated the end of lockdown and needing to not see anybody by going to stay in a tree house in the middle of nowhere with no people nearby, which was lovely. And on the way back, we called into Malton, which I'll have definitely mentioned before for their excellent beer festival, and Bad Seed and Brass Castle Brewery are both there. So I've brought a Bad Seed beer, Time Vortex, described as a hazy pale, 5.3% with Equinox and Chinook hops. A really, really lovely, colourful artwork. She's all done by Victoria Harley, who's a excellent photographer. So.
Good stuff. It looks very good. See, that's the kind of can design that we need in order to kind of stimulate Sean a little bit, because Sean's just had a nap, so he's a little sleepy. So we'll come to Sean last, just to give him a little bit of time to wake up. As ever, Laura, we also need to ask, and this is quite a clear one because we can see it, about your beer attire, which is a fabulous T-shirt. Thank
you. Yeah, I thought I'd stick with the theme, so I've got my St. Mars of the Desert T-shirt on today. I nearly brought a St. Mars beer actually, and then I thought, no, I'll do outside of Sheffield but within Yorkshire beer and wear my Sheffield T-shirt.
Good thinking. I like it. And were your travels fun? Did you enjoy them?
Yes, it was lovely. Just
excellent.
Drank a lot, ate a lot, chilled out, had a bit of headspace, which I think we were both ready for after a busy few months at work and everything. So came back feeling refreshed and revitalised, and loads better. So really good time.
Excellent stuff. Right then, Adam, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Everybody else all right? I've gone a bit north. I've gone for Brew York, Tongue Cocoa. Right. I think we might have had it on the Christmas episode when it was actually on the bar somewhere. But I was kind of had this in the fridge for a while. I think it's about as north of Yorkshire we're going to go, I think. I don't think I've actually had a can of this before, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this tastes like. I've probably not taken it out of the fridge basically just taken it out of the fridge. So
right.
I would have probably liked to take it out a bit before this, but hopefully it'll still be good.
Yeah. Fair enough. And just to clarify, is it the normal Tongue Cocoa, not
It's the normal one, the 4.3% regular Tongue Cocoa.
That's a good Sunday percentage for a beer, that.
Milk stout, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Excellent.
There's a rumour, Adam, that you've been out on the lash this lunchtime.
No, this is false.
How many in? How many are we down already?
I've had a couple of cans of Jaipur, plus a couple of more cans of Jaipur.
Yeah. So Adam's had 2 beers and he's sloshed. Sean slept for half an hour and can't wake himself up.
I need a sleep.
So
no, I'm all right. I'm good.
This is a proper middle-aged men kind of thing that we've got going on here. Let's bring in some youth, shall we? Our guest this week, Josh. Do we introduce you as Josh from Blue Bee, or do we introduce you as Josh from Kelham Island Tavern, or are you just both?
I suppose I'm both. Yes. So whichever. Depends.
Okay. Well,
depends which phone I'm answering.
You are currently above the Kelham Island Tavern, so
yes,
we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
I did think about doing it from the bar, but we're a bit too busy at the minute, which is a good thing, I suppose. I'm
going to say that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. We'll no doubt talk a lot about the pub and the brewery as the episode goes on. But all important question for now: what beer have you brought?
Well, I've gone for cask beer, seeing as I'm above a pub. So I had a couple of options with it being Yorkshire. I thought, do I go for Barnes the Bitter from Acorn, which we've always got on, as Yorkshire as you can probably get as a beer, but I didn't quite fancy a brown bitter. And then I've got a North Riding beer on, but I had a suspicion that, I don't know, but Sean may have gone for a North Riding beer. I know it's one of his favourites. So I avoided that.
I've also got Barnsley Bitter lined up as well. So,
so you see, I thought that may have been some clash. So I was biased and went for my own beer. So I've got a pint of American 5-Up, the first brew we did after lockdown, and it's version 44. So yeah, I went with that, just because, and I will like it, but I will be biased. So there
Excellent,
you go.
good stuff. I think this is the first time that we've had kind of like a beer that's not out of a can or a bottle for ages. I can't remember the last time I actually had a cask beer on.
I think the bar stewards did it once, didn't they? On your
yeah. It would have been that. So it would have been. It would have been. That was only January, and yet it feels like about 8 years ago now, doesn't it? Right. Okay. I'll do mine. We'll give Sean another couple of minutes to wake up. I'm quite excited about this. So I've gone very local. I've stayed in Sheffield, and I've gone for Neepsend and Alkis. I'm looking towards Sean for some guidance.
I've been calling it Alsis for the last 2 weeks.
I think
we'll go with that
Gavin,
then.
He said Alsis.
Alsis, right? Good.
Basically,
That's excellent.
you have to ask Gavin what all his beers are called or pronounced. There's always some weird niche reference to something very loosely linked to the beer somehow. So
I've got no idea. I'll try and figure out at some point as to where this name comes from. But it's 4.2% session IPA, Citra and Mosaic. Of course, the big deal here is that Neepsend in cans for the first time in the last month or so, and I've not had one of their beers out of a can yet, so I'm quite excited about this. So this is my Yorkshire tribute, not too far down the road for Neepsend. Sean, there was a prediction there from Josh that you're going to go for North Riding. I mean, you're not that predictable, surely.
I was very lucky enough to be bought 2 Barnsley beers by a Leeds fan just over a week ago to celebrate Barnsley's great escape. But because we're not quite fully escaped yet, pending Wigan's appeal, I've sucked one of them, the Barnsley Gold, and I've still got Barnsley Bitter tucked away. That was an obvious choice, Josh. You were right for today, but I don't drink it yet so I'm saving that until Wigan's appeal is rejected, and I can use that as a bit of a celebration beer. So in a roundabout way, I am effing predictable. I've gone for the beer that if I could just, people are always saying that, if you only got one beer to suck, what would it be? The rest of your life, blah, blah, blah. And mine would be on cask, North Riding Mosaic Pale. So I've gone for that, fresh batch delivered by Stu and his team just this week. And to sit in their pub drinking this would be end of days. I would be a very, very happy lad. And I'm also drinking it just to connect it in my Wolds Way Pale Ale, Wooltop Brewery, not far from where Laura went last week. And it's a straight-sided glass, which I hate, but the emblem on the front, Wolds Way, Yorkshire, blah, 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 all works perfectly.
I've got,
sorry.
If it counts, I've got a Magic Rock glass,
right,
which I definitely didn't steal from any pub anywhere in Sheffield.
I was going to put mine in a North Riding glass just to my beer, but decided against it.
I'm kicking myself. We've got some at work, and I didn't bring one home, so I've had to go with the World's Way as an alternative.
I'm going to have to go back and check.
This is a beer I often see at the Kelham Island Tavern, actually. That if I ever drink it, that tends to be on at the...
We do have a cask on in the cellar at the minute.
Very good.
Not on yet, but...
I think there's a point in every podcast that we've done during lockdown where Sean said, "Oh, I've got such and such, but I've left it at work."
Saturday's not a good day for with a switch into Sunday. Saturday's not a good day for me to be planning things a bit late on, and so I apologise. I do apologise. I've not had a nap on a Sunday afternoon since lockdown. Definitely not since lockdown. We've been going out on walks and doing this and all that, but I nodded off earlier. I must have been watching the Grand Prix.
Not watching Harrogate then. Speaking of Yorkshire Day, Harrogate promoted to
no.
Football League.
Have they won? Have they won?
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at the score early doors, so that's good news. Yeah. proving again
Excellent
that
stuff.
Yorkshire is. Will we just very quickly? Born in hospital in Barnsley. Going
Me too.
round everybody. Where were we all born? Exact place.
Barnsley General.
Right.
Barnsley
me and Adam.
General.
Right.
I was
Three.
Menegates Hospital in Wakefield. So
Still
Wicked.
Yorkshire.
yeah.
That counts.
I think I was born at Jessop's.
I would imagine so if you're from Sheffield. Yeah.
Definitely Sheffield. So
I
yeah.
always
Laura,
think it's-
you're going to need
people
to.
gonna
I can
know.
see you're concerned about this now. You need to research where you came into this place.
But yeah, I'm born and bred Sheffield, so
I was in
That's
Wakey
all-
this morning.
that's
Actually,
all
I went to see a brewery. In Wakefield this morning
Malcolm.
up to see Malcolm
Five
at
towns.
Outwood. Yeah, so I think that tired me out as well, having to go to West Yorkshire.
I've been in West Yorkshire today as well. I've been in Leeds. So between us, we've covered quite a fair bit of Yorkshire over the last few days.
Yeah.
How are things with the shop then, Sean?
Yeah, no change. Still very good. All three strands, deliveries, people in the market, and mail order, all bang on. So very happy and ready for a holiday, ready for a rest. Laura's set the trend there, so I think ready to put the feet up a bit. My sleep this afternoon doesn't count as a holiday.
Have you not got a Scarborough trip in the diary?
No, we haven't got a Scarborough trip. Probably not till September. All accommodation options have collapsed over there at minute, so we're quickly. I.e., my mum and dad sold a frigging caravan, so we're trying to sort out some alternatives. Yeah.
Fair enough. Adam, what adventures have you been on?
I've actually been out on the first kind of proper what would be considered like a normal night out. I actually bumped into Josh actually, convinced him to come on tonight. But yeah, it's initially quite unusual because I was with like a few mixed people. We sat outside and stuff where we could and kept his distance, but stayed around Kelham Island and Josh, I can't remember the name of it, but I've had your black IPA that's on at the Kelham Island Tavern, and it's just a beer that I don't tend to get very often anyway. And just to have a nice cask pint of something like that from what you've brewed is it feels amazing to be back to kind of some form of normality, and I think everyone's been doing really well. I think everywhere I've been so far is just echoing what we said like last time we were out. Just really, taking care of people, making sure they follow all the guidelines, and I never know what's going to happen in the next few weeks. Whether we kind of maybe things might change and stuff. But I think from my experience of where I've been, I think everyone's done what they can and what they should be doing, and yeah, it's been good. So yeah, I've kind of felt like I've been on a night out for the first time in 5 months or something.
Adam, some of the papers today reckon that for schools to reopen in September, that the trade-off might have to be pubs close again, right? As a parent, what's your choice? Would you rather your daughter go to school and pubs close, or have pubs open and have to have your daughter at home?
It's funny actually because I saw a poll from Brewer Yorkshire that put that out, and I had no context because I'd not actually seen what it was about. And I was thinking, this feels like a no-brainer. And to be honest, it's schools. I just don't know. It just is at this point. It just seems, I don't know. It's there's a win-win, lose-lose on depending on who you are and where you're situated. But I suppose it feels like schools and education feels more important. I suppose I don't know than a pub. I don't know. I think that some of the bars and stuff have found other ways around actually physically going to pubs. I know. Josh did a really good job of doing some off-site sales to people outside the bar and stuff. I don't know, maybe long term that just makes it better. There's a solution by either way, whichever you go. I just can't see how you can sustain either properly, but I don't know. I think maybe schools seems to most people probably more important than an alcohol-based thing. I don't know.
I don't understand really. Why no one's thought of the obvious solution here, which is we teach kids in the pub.
In pubs.
Yeah, that seems like it's a perfect. So obviously, we don't let them drink; that would be irresponsible. But
Been doing that for months.
it's a great idea. Right, good stuff. Laura, it's 4 weeks since we saw you, and we really missed you. And I think you're on mute. We.
I think I just didn't talk very loudly. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, got you. Yeah. So, other than obviously your break, what have you been up to in the beer wide world?
We have been to a few pubs now, which just to kind of reiterate what Adam said. We've stayed pretty local to us, but everywhere that we've been has been fantastic. We've been to Dead Donkey, Jabberwocky, the Rutland and Barrow Boy, and the Beer Engine. Not all in one go, obviously, but over the past few weeks we've been to all of those and really enjoyed it everywhere. The fact that people have managed to kind of keep the atmosphere going despite making sure all the measures in place, I've been really, really impressed by. So that's been nice. Like Adam said, to do something that feels a bit more normal. So that's been really good. When we were away, we were in the car anyway, so we would have just kind of popped in somewhere for a half or something maybe. But the kind of more rural pubs were all still seem to be closed during the day, and obviously they're in slightly more remote villages, so we're just kind of taking their time to reopen a little bit more. I know when we went to see Chris, who works at Bad Seed Brewery, and he said that Malton has lost 4 pubs kind of permanently after this, which is a real shame. It's not a very big place. I can't imagine it has that many more than 4 pubs. So that was quite telling for us, really. But yeah, we didn't have anything while we were there, but took plenty with us, so we were okay.
Good stuff. So we talked to you ages ago, and I said that I'd been to the Stag, which is my local on Salter Lane, and then not been to any pub since until yesterday, where I did a little bit of like a Kelham Island thing, or what do you call it, Adam? The Gibraltar Triangle.
Gibraltar Triangle.
I think. Are you the only person that says that?
I thought I'd invented it, and I heard someone else say it. So I think more than one person's thought of it. So
at least 2 people.
That term.
Yeah,
excellent. Right, okay, that's good. So Bar Stewart, Shakespeare's, and the Crow. It was a fairly whistle stop sort of afternoon thing because I was up really early this morning, but all great. All obviously kind of taking things really seriously. They all felt really safe, and I think that's the theme that we've all kind of had from our experiences so far, isn't it? Is just feeling safe, which I didn't expect to happen with pubs. So that's awesome. Right, Josh, over to you. What so many kind of things to ask you about. What was so first of all, what was the experience of being a brewer in lockdown like?
Well, at first it was all pretty concerning, especially as a cask brewer and not ever done any small pack. And we just decided to, from the beginning, to mothball the brewery for a while, because obviously I have other things to sort of think about with the pub, and just see how things pan out, because obviously you didn't know at the beginning what aid would be there, whether it be with the furlough and things like that, and the grants available, and just we didn't know how long it would go on for. It was sort of like it might just be a month to start with, and obviously it dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. So yeah, it was stressful at first, but then I sort of, once it had all sort of calmed down a bit and the announcements were made by Rishi and about furlough and that sort of thing, it just made it a bit less stressful, should we say, from both the pub and brewery side of things. And then it was just a case of, well, it's quite just figure out what to do about everything, really. Just got us a chance to do a bit of improvements to the pub. We've had the toilets done, we've done a lot of painting in the cellar and things like that, bit of gardening, all that sort of thing, all the stuff you never get much time to do. So I had a chance to do that, and then eventually we decided, well, we've got all this beer sat there after about a month doing nothing at the pub, we might as well try and sell it. And obviously that really went well for us, and we shifted quite a lot of beer. We were shifting like 10 casks a week and about 5 or 6 kegs a week in 4 days or 2 hours. So it was going really well, and And once we'd sold out of beer, we were then buying more from wherever we could, whether it be the Rutland, we've got the license to wholesale. So we were shifting some of their beer for them to help them out. And then also we had to drive up to Leeds, to Northern Monk to get more beer, because just getting hold of the cask and keg and stuff was getting more and more difficult, especially fresh stuff. And then we just decided to crack on with that. And then until the announcement that we could reopen, and then kicking back in to start brewing, and which seems to have gone quite well as well. We seem to have. I was doing half brews to start with; they were just selling out within a week, so I had to start brewing back to normal, really. So
awesome. Kind of the
well.
So reopening the pub to do kind of like off-site sales, because I think that you were one of the from my recollection, you were one of the first in Sheffield. I remember when I kind of saw it popped up on Facebook, and I was like, oh right, and I was a bit surprised and like, oh, I guess you could do that. What was going through your mind at that point? Because it must have been something that was a little bit nerve-wracking as to whether or not people would even be interested, or whether or not the reaction might be negative to it.
Well, yeah, there was a bit of the Harlequin had been doing it throughout, so they didn't stop doing it. So a few pubs did it for the first weekend. I think we did. The Shakespeare did it for the first day or so, just to try and shift some stock that was on the bar. And then obviously it was just a case of just see what happens. And the Harlequin carried on doing it throughout. And then the Gardeners started the weekend before us, and so there were a few people doing it. I think the Itchy Pig might have even started before us. But it was just a case of, we've got all this beer. It's no difference to an off-license opening. With people coming up to the bar, we were filling cartons and containers, and then just letting people take it away. I mean, didn't feel unsafe. One person in and out at a time. So we weren't having loads of people milling about the pub. It was walk up to the bar, straight in, straight out. There was everyone was queuing along the street as opposed to queuing inside. So yeah, it worked really well, and I'm surprised how it kicked up. It took off basically. I mean, at one point we had people queuing right around onto Alma Street. So yeah, it just went well. And it seemed stupid to stop once we sold out of his stock, because there were people as well who, when they first came in, had not spoken to anyone for a month or 6 weeks. They were just glad to come in and see a friendly face, someone they knew as regulars, just someone to talk to. So it was nice to get back to giving that community feel that what a pub's about. Not just about beer, but about the people that come in the pubs and rely on them. And especially with some of the older people who are a bit more vulnerable, who don't have access to technology, they've just been sat there on their own, and that's the first contact they've had with people. So it was good. It was good in that way, to sort of put a smile on people's faces.
That's amazing to hear, actually, because I'd probably not appreciated that there will be people that, you know, I guess we've all been kind of on and off Zoom right throughout the early stages of lockdown and not really thought anything of it. I was still going to work, you know, every other day. And those people that, you know, maybe weren't getting any human contact, that even if it's just literally coming in the pub to pick something up, that little bit of normality will have got them through a few days. I'm sure the beer will have helped get them through those few days as well.
They were also chatting to people they knew in the queue as well. So the queue, because obviously it was a long queue, and then the people would know each other in the queue. So seeing faces they'd not seen, and just people, because it was only a 2-hour short period we were open a day, and people tended to come on the same day. People would congregate, like turn up at similar sort of times. So that people would become you get regulars within, like on the days of takeout, and you'd know that they'd be turning up at this time, and you'd be seeing similar faces over and over again. So it was good in that respect, and yeah, it worked pretty well for us. I mean, it was nowhere near what as normal takings are, and obviously we're still not operating on as normal takings, but it all helps. I mean, and it was good for us as well, just to get to talk to people and get rid of a bit of boredom for ourselves. Something to do, isn't it?
Makes sense. So what about now then? So obviously, kind of, you know, you reopen as much as any pub is reopen in kind of the current circumstances. So what kind of adaptations and stuff have you had to make?
So we're just doing table service only. So wait to be seated. Got to sit and stay where you are, basically, unless you need the toilet, obviously, or want to leave. But table service only, which is a pain, but it's obviously what's necessary. We don't want people wandering around a bar. Obviously, some bars are better set up for coming to the bar and having space to queue. We've decided we'll take the queuing out of it. And And on the whole, we're down to a capacity with the beer garden as well, about 60 people, if the groups come in the right sizes. So we've probably never been up to 60, but we've took tables out to make the tables further spaced apart. And yeah, we're trying to keep the pub feel as much as possible. We haven't put any screens or anything up because we still want people to feel like they can talk amongst each other almost. So we've had regulars come in, sitting apart, coming in at different times, and still being able to talk to each other, and feel like they still have that pub experience, not just a sterile put yourself in a goldfish bowl experience. I mean, I've been to, I think, 20 pubs now, and I think I've, like you've all said, I've not been to one that's done it badly. I think everyone's adapted well, and everywhere I've been feels safe as well.
Gosh, I saw you the other day, and we were talking a little bit about the Small Brewers Duty Relief changes. I just thought how that's kind of that spanner in the works, how that's kind of impacted on you. Any thoughts on how that impacts on Blue Bee Brewery moving on?
If we continue at our current production, it would have a small effect. Obviously, what's been released is not very clear at the minute. I've not properly looked into it, and it won't be coming in straight away. But it's not great for small brewery, any small brewery, especially ones that are wanting to expand. I'm not too worried about doing that at the minute because I've got a lot on with the pub and other things. But I think it will be a serious stopgap, especially with this as well, for some small breweries that are on the cusp, or even ones that are already beyond that limit. It's just sort of a bit of a kick in the bollocks, really.
Yeah.
And then, but we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously for the likes of Abbeydale, it's not as an effect, but obviously Abbeydale are very against it as well, which is good. There's a lot of big breweries that are against it. There's some that aren't. I mean, I've had a pint of a beer off it's not stopped me drinking a pint of beer off someone who were on the list of the ones that were for it. But there are reasons why brewers there wanted to be some reform to make it easier for people at Abbeydale's size without screwing over the small guys. So that first there were a few lists of names where you go, why are they on the list? It was because they wanted to be some reform there in the positive to allow further growth. But I don't know. It's one of those wait and see things, really. I've not properly read into it. I know I should have done, but I've had a lot on.
You got enough on your plate as it is, I suppose.
Yeah, it's here and now at the minute.
So I don't really know anything about any of that.
So,
Go on. Who's going to take this one?
I'll let Laura put her side.
I'm absolutely no expert on this whatsoever. But at the moment, a small brewery is classed as a brewery that produces 5,000 hectolitres or less a year. And they benefit from the full level of duty relief. And there's then a sliding scale, but it's quite a sharp scale. So that goes up to, I think it's at 60,000 hectolitres that you pay the full rate. Abbeydale are, just as an example, are at about 19,000 hectolitres. So we're obviously quite far above the 5, but nowhere near the 60. But we pay nearly 90% of full duty. So that kind of shows you how sharp the scale goes. So we potentially, depending on what the reforms do, potentially stand to benefit from it if they soften it so that the brewers between those two levels have to kind of pay less till you get much closer to the 60,000 mark. But what the main thing that they want to do is change the definition of a small brewery to just 2,100 hectolitres. So the breweries in between 2,100 and 5,000 will pay a much steeper rate of duty, which will inhibit their growth. I mean, it's like the kind of line that Abbeydale's taking on it is we've passed a certain rung of the ladder where we are now on this sliding scale of duty. That absolutely does not mean we in any way want to pull that ladder up underneath us. You know, it's the smaller breweries that have kind of pushed the whole industry forward as far as we're concerned. It's a lot because of their influence that the diversity of the beer world has become so much better. it's pushed Abbeydale to make different beers and not kind of rest on the laurels, and they're the ones that are pushing this all forward. So as a brewery, we very, very much think that it's the wrong thing to do, and that it needs to be looked at in a way that's more fair for those people that are less able to pay. And from what we're concerned, from where we're coming at it, yes, we pay more, but we also make more, and that's all kind of factored into what we do. So as a brewery, we're very against it, and as a drinker, I'm very against it as well. So anything that stifles what the industry is able to do in that way is a bad thing, as I'm concerned.
James, I've got a question there, if I can. You mentioned there that you weren't sure about it, and I think we tend to look at breweries and judge breweries based on what they brew, who works for them, how we friends, do we know them, how easy it is to get their particular beers, but don't necessarily know a great deal about the actual size and capacity of a brewery. Who's bigger, Cloudwater or Northern Monk? Who's bigger, Cloudwater or Abbeydale? And so on and so on. So a question for Josh and Laura, and a bonus one for Josh. But are there statistics that are freely available that dictate and show which level breweries are at? You said 19,000 hectolitres, Laura, for Abbeydale, I think there. What, Josh? Is it information people are happy to share? What are you at, buddy, at the moment? Are you 2,500, 3,000, 5?
Last year we're just under the new. So we're last year we did about 2,000. Obviously this year it's completely skewed. It's just it just makes no difference. It wouldn't affect us if it happened this year, because we've had 3 months of no production. So that obviously makes it. But then see, if you're a SEBA member, SEBA ask for the details every year. I don't think any brewer would not share it with you, but obviously Northern Monk are a hell of a lot bigger than Cloudwater, if that's one of
they are. Yeah. I think that's a good point. A lot of people don't necessarily realise that. They look at two breweries and think, well, they're pretty much the same level. I know Cloudwater are 10,000 hectolitres at the moment. Northern Monk are about 25,000.
But that's about how much Northern Monk puts into M&S.
I know. Yeah, correct. Yeah, it is.
Their core beers. So whereas Cloudwater don't tend to sell to big.
No, they don't. No, they've deliberately capped it at that. But it's easy to think that they're all the same size.
Yeah.
Is there you probably don't even know this, but is there a kind of, just for people who might be listening who have got no kind of concept, could anybody maybe name a couple of breweries who are on the kind of two ends of that spectrum, or roughly? Or is that?
Well,
I'm drinking. Yeah, go on.
I think, for instance, if they drop it down to 2,000, breweries in Sheffield that will be particularly affected. Well, Neepsend will be, because they're producing somewhere in that middle ballpark. There's still Small Brewers Relief. So you're talking Neepsend, Kelham Island probably. I don't know what their production is these days. They might be. I don't think they're above it. So they're probably still in Small Brewers Relief, because they don't produce as much as they once did. And then,
still in that kind of sort of locally kind of
local, but not the smaller ones. So basically, if I brew on 10 barrel brews, then so I can get 49s out of a brew. If we're talking cask, 49 gallon casks a brew. And if I brew twice a week, that's about the limit, give or take, of where the new level will come in. So if you're brewing on 15 barrels or 30 brewers barrels, 20 brewers barrels twice a week or more, you're going to be affected by this. Yeah. So, because often breweries talk about the size of their production level, but you don't know how much they produce. So, for instance, Smod only tend to brew once a week, so they probably will not be affected by this.
Right.
But then if they expand, then it will stop them expanding, for instance. So I mean, I can't guarantee that I'm right about what I'm saying about Smod, but so if you're just trying to think of a Sheffield comparison, and then I'm not sure if there's anyone else in Sheffield producing. I mean, True North maybe might be affected, because obviously they brew quite a bit. Stansel will be affected. So I'm not sure if there'll be anyone else, but in the Sheffield postcodes, but there might be someone in Acorn, but Acorn are probably above it as well.
So if you were on that kind of boundary, like as in maybe dropping into it from the bottom end, what impact would it be? What is the natural thing that a brewer would have to maybe do to maybe avoid it, or what do you think was the obvious thing they'd have to sort of?
They've
I
not,
mean,
they've not really
changes
announced how the sliding scale is going to work yet. The idea is it's going to be a cost neutral effect, for the Chancellor's point of view of doing this, whilst being able to stop that higher end that the people like Abbeydale are affected, the higher end of that curve. So it sort of flattens the curve almost by bringing the curve starting earlier. So until you know how percentage-wise how much it's going to go up, it's difficult to say exactly how it will have effect. But obviously, then every time you brew a bit too much more, it's going to your duty is going to go up and up and up and up until a certain level. But it's difficult. It's very vague at the minute, from what I've seen. But I could be wrong. I mean, there are people that are campaigning a lot harder for this and will know the ins and outs. But I'm not really one of them.
Yeah, me neither. So please feel free to, Josh, I don't know if you heard any glaring errors in anything I said, or anybody that is listening, please do feel free to correct me. I guess, like,
it was kind of more of a fresh kind of thing that's come out, and then remember me and Josh. I saw Josh the other night at the Crow, and he kind of mentioned
the guy on Twitter at Beer Nova. He seems to know a lot about it. He's worth looking up if you're interested in from a small brewer's point of view. He's been a very adamant campaigner on it. He's done blogs and stuff with some great information on it, and he's probably something to look at. And there are a few others. I'm sure Seaber have probably got quite a bit of information on their website to have a look at. But yeah, don't go on what me and Laura are saying as fact.
Good stuff. It's interesting that. Sean, what is your beer like? I know it's something you've drunk several thousand litres of it in the past.
It's gone, and I think currently Stu brews at about 2,500. So again, he's affected in sense of either staying at that level, potentially paying more, or clipping production. And so that's the type of brewer that are having to now perhaps make decisions over the coming 12 months as to what direction to go in for the future. The beer was obviously outstanding. And I look forward to trying a pint of that on cask in their pub in September. And I've got another bottle as well, although it's probably not one I'm going to have tonight. I've got another one ready and waiting. So top class.
I realise, Sean.
Actually, can I also point out that? Go on.
I was just going to say I feel quite bad that I didn't ask you. We like us Sheffielders have been talking about going back to pubs and stuff. I didn't ask you whether you have yet, because last time you'd still not done.
No, not yet. Been in a pub. We drive, of course, to and from Sheffield on the days that we're in Sheffield. So not as yet been in a.
So you're not in a pint of cask beer then?
No. But which leads me on to something I was going to say there, that there is only, and I have thought about this long and hard in the last half hour. If I go into a pub and I see there's a North Riding beer on, I might have it, I might not. I can access it in other ways and so on. There is only one brewer I can think of, and brewery, who, if their beer is on, if I go in a pub, I have that beer from that brewery, and it is Josh. I think he's the most underrated brewer in the UK. Right, I've thought about that for the last half hour as well. And wherever I am, if a Blue Bee beer is on, not a blue beer. Apologise. Yeah, that's only the end of October. I go for the blue beers. If there is a Blue Bee beer, try saying that yourself in a second. Blue Bee beer. I do not look at anything else. I will have the Blue Bee, and the 5-hop series that he does is magnificent. Yeah,
the black IPAs.
Again, if it was there, I was watering at the mouth when you.
What was it, Josh? Remind me what the beer that I had. It's on at yours at minute.
Wheels of Confusion.
It's a collaboration with? Is it Rutland?
With Lucy from the Shakespeare came to do it with us. So yeah,
bang on, mate.
I think it was on in the Rutland the other day.
Yeah, I've had it twice.
It was. I also had it in the Rutland and can confirm it's delicious.
Oh, I've not been in the Rutland yet. I feel left out.
No, me neither.
No,
This week we'll have to do it. Right, 3 of us this week. We're going. We'll somehow we'll get there. Cool. Josh,
How's your beer that you brewed?
You're not going to say it's terrible, but tell us about your beer.
It's also gone. I'm now on an off-riding beer.
Have you got table service upstairs, Josh?
No, not unfortunately. I don't want to.
It's got a pipe.
I've just got a cat for company.
You saw it earlier, like a beanbag inflating.
No table service. Yeah, it's. I'm going to say it's good. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the usual sort of bitter set flavour with plenty of hoppiness. But yeah, this one's got Citra, Equinox, Cascade, Simcoe, and Columbus in. And yeah, I like it, but I tend to make beers I like. So,
Josh, are you running out of combinations? Have you done a 5-hop with the same 5 hops in
no.
from day one? So have you still got an unlimited amount?
Well, not unlimited. I mean, there is a mathematical formula. Something choose however many current American hops there are. I've not got my scientific calculator on me, but I bet it's in its sort of millions. So
yes,
we're not going to run out for a while.
Easy.
Yeah.
Josh, just a really quick one. I know we've had you on before, and you might have said this before, but obviously there's people who can't get in small pack and stuff. You do kind of stretch a little bit out of sort of South Yorkshire. If people are listening who are maybe just a little bit out of Sheffield, where's likely that they might be able to drop on like a cask pint of your beer?
If you're in Derby, the Alex or the Smithfield, there's a few places in West Yorkshire, not necessarily in Leeds, but a few places in Huddersfield sometimes have it on. Sportsman sometimes have it on. Stars had it on since lockdown. Rat and Ratchet. It gets over to Hull, the Whalebone. I mean, it goes all over. Manchester, a few places, and then down as far as Bristol, up to Edinburgh. Yeah, I send it through wholesalers, so it just turns up.
I know you sometimes do jump in you do drive stuff around a bit, don't you?
Yeah.
So I just thought about it.
But it all depends. I mean, we do quite well in Halifax as well. Some strange little towns that Wakefield as well. I sell it to quite a few little pubs on the outskirts of Wakefield, but I don't know. It appears. Look on Untapped. That's that's always a good way of finding out.
Good answer.
But yeah, it does get around. But we mainly do quite well in pubs in Sheffield, especially round here. At the minute, we're doing quite well. It's on in the Crow, it's on in the Shakespeare at the minute, it's on in here, it's on in the Rutland, so Itchy Pig, Broadfield. Plenty of places in Sheffield to get my beer.
Good stuff.
Good stuff, thank you. Laura?
I mean, I feel like I go on about how much I like Bad Seed anyway, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the best Bad Seed beer I've ever had. It's really, really delicious. It's described as a hazy pale, but it's more, I'd say it's more IPA even though it's 5.3%, so maybe a little bit low, but it's got really, really nice bitterness in the finish, really, really juicy, and you can still buy it online as well. I don't know if you get Bad Seed beers in very often.
We're picking choose for them, so none at the moment, but there could very well be some in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, so we mix and match.
But one thing that just to give a quick shout out to, because I really, really like what Bad Seed and Brass Castle have done. Obviously, it's 2 small breweries in close proximity to each other and both with their own challenges, both making great beer. Maybe something about breweries that begin with B being underrated, because I'd put Bad Seed and Brass Castle alongside Blue Bee as well. So
Brew Dog.
Not Brew Dog. So Bad Seed's beer is actually available at the moment on Brass Castle's web shop, because Bad Seed don't have their own. So Brass Castle have allowed them, that kind of platform. And in exchange, I know Chris has been doing deliveries of his beer and of Bad Seed's beer, Brass Castle's beer, together. So I just think it's really nice how they've kind of teamed up to really help each other get through it. Just a really nice example of what the beer world can be like when it works together. So yeah, I'd recommend looking them both up if you're somebody that's not familiar with them, and all available from directly from Brass Castle.
Laura, should we call that collaboration Bad
Brass
Castle
Seed.
or
Brass Seed?
Brass Seed, yeah.
Brass seed sounds
You
a bit
never know.
weird,
Years
doesn't it?
time, they might join forces, and it might be brass
Seed sounds like a drug. Yeah, a drug you might buy on a naughty street down Kelham one night. Brass seed. Got any brass seed?
Yeah, Badcastle sounds a bit more badass, doesn't it?
It sounds like a ride you might go on at Flamingo Land.
Or an Alcopop. Have you got any Badcastle raspberry?
It sounds like something that you would try after 4 cans of Jaipur, Adam.
Yeah.
Brill. The Neepsend, as you'd expect, is very good, and it kind of strangely does have a twang of like a cask beer to it. It's quite a strange experience how they've done that, but very good and lovely and tasty for a 4.2% session IPA. So very impressed with that. Adam.
Yeah, very good. I think Toncoco just reminds me of Laura's birthday. Was it last year? Feels like last year. As going through the different Toncocos, and I don't think that Tonka flavoured beers are initially. I don't think you always like them straight away because it's quite an unfamiliar flavour. It's fine. I think once you've had a few, I think it's a beer that you kind of always go back to. I think it's becoming a bit of a classic. I think, yeah, Toncoco, and yeah. Very, very good. And now it's warmed up a little bit as well, so it's quite nice. I got it in my Aberdale glass still, Laura, don't worry. Yeah, bang on.
Brill, good stuff. All that remains then is beer selfie. Josh, I don't know how you're going to do this because you've not even got any beer left in it. Oh, you got the pump clip.
It's got his face. It's got his face.
I've got a different camera angle now because I moved all my office round. There we go. That'll do us. Fantastic. Josh, thank you very much. And obviously we'll be keeping an eye on what happens with the pub and the brewery over the coming weeks and months, and hopefully things continue to go in the right direction. Thank you very much for your time. Lovely to see you all, and we will likely be back in a fortnight. So we'll see you then.
Bye bye.
See ya.